Her son died in a fire, but every night she hears him crying from the basement. The last thing Sarah Caldwell remembered before the fire was her son's laughter. It was a chilly Friday evening when Eli asked to stay up a little longer. He wanted to build a fort in the living room, the kind they always made when thunder rolled through the skies. It was supposed to be fun, safe, cozy, but within hours the house was ash. And Eli, her sweet 6-year-old boy with the gap-toothed smile and dimple on his right cheek, was gone. They said it was an electrical fault, something about a heater. Sarah never remembered plugging anything in. She remembered the scream, though, his scream. It lived with her. Sarah stood in front of the new house like someone staring at a fresh wound, hopeful, but terrified to peel the bandages back. A modest 2-story home nestled on the edge of Crowsfield, Virginia. Remote, quiet, surrounded by thick woods and long-forgotten farmland. She needed quiet, and no reminders of Eli, no smell of burnt memories. The real estate agent called it a fixer-upper. Sarah called it a beginning. The town was strange, too polite. When she mentioned the address to the grocery clerk, the girl's smile stiffened. "You bought the Crowhurst place?" Sarah paused. "Is that what it's called?" The clerk blinked, forced a grin. "Just be careful out there. Lotta raccoons." The house creaked like a body learning to breathe again. Floorboards groaned with every step. The walls were thick with a smell Sarah couldn't place, like smoke trapped in old paint. The basement door was bolted shut, not just locked, bolted with rusted metal and painted over several times. She made a mental note to ask the landlord, or maybe she wouldn't. Some things didn't need exploring. She set up her things slowly, methodically, every room unpacked with care, except for one box, Eli's things. She left it in the attic, sealed shut. She told herself it was safer that way. For now, that night, she took a long bath, poured herself 2 fingers of whiskey, and let the silence wash over her, until the crying started. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even clear. It was muffled, like someone sobbing into a pillow. Low, choked breaths. A child's voice, coming from somewhere beneath her. She sat up in bed, heart skipping. No, she was alone. She had to be alone. She crept down the stairs, slow and barefoot, the hardwood cold against her soles. The crying grew louder as she reached the kitchen, and then, unmistakably, it came from behind the basement door. "Mommy!" "It's dark." Sarah froze. Her hand hovered near the doorknob, but there wasn't one. Only the thick metal bolts, crusted in rust, and a dead silence suddenly falling like a shroud. The crying stopped. Her breath caught in her throat. She stepped back, then 2 more steps, and didn't sleep the rest of the night. She blamed it on stress, fatigue, whiskey, grief, anything but what she really thought. That the voice sounded exactly like Eli. She hadn't heard his voice in a year. She kept no recordings. She couldn't bear to, but that voice. The next day, she walked into town, asked a hardware store clerk about getting the basement opened. "You sure you want to?" he asked, without looking up. She stared. "Is there something wrong with it?" The clerk scratched his chin. "Just houses with sealed basements got stories. Some true, some not. That place has been empty for years. Before that, weird renters, screaming, neighbors complaining about smells. You're braver than most." She forced a smile and left without buying anything. The crying returned that night, this time louder, more frantic. "Mommy, please, I'm cold. I can't breathe." Sarah sat up, shaking. The voice echoed up through the floorboards. Her bedroom was right above the basement. She dropped to the floor and pressed her ear down. Nothing. She crawled to the hallway. Nothing. She descended one step at a time to the first floor, to the kitchen, and there she stopped cold. The basement door was open. The bolts were still in place, bent and twisted, as if wrenched from inside. A draft of cold air rolled out, and with it, that same smell she couldn't place when she first moved in. Smoke. The door was open. Sarah stood frozen, one hand on the wall for balance, the other holding her phone with the flashlight trembling in her grasp. The basement gaped like a wound, dark, cold, and whispering with echoes she couldn't explain. She hadn't touched the bolts. They were twisted, warped outward, not removed, forced out. She aimed her flashlight into the black and whispered, "Eli!" Silence. Then, faint, so faint she could have doubted it, came a giggle. Not the cry she'd heard before. A giggle, light, playful. Eli's giggle. Her knees buckled. The phone dropped from her hand, the light spinning as it hit the floor and rolled toward the stairwell. Just before the beam stopped moving, it caught something. A footprint. Small, bare, ash gray. When the sun came up, Sarah was still sitting on the floor in front of the basement, her eyes wide and rimmed red. The door was shut again, just as bolted as it had been when she moved in. She called a locksmith, said she wanted it sealed for good. He came an hour later, middle-aged, gruff, talkative. "That's a weird one," he muttered, looking at the warped metal. "Did you try to open it from the inside?" "I live alone," Sarah replied. The man went quiet. He sealed the door with 2 fresh steel bars and drilled them deep. "Won't be opening again unless you really want it to." "I don't," she whispered. That night, she set up her phone to record audio. She needed to prove to herself she was either hearing something real or that her grief was dragging her down a dark path. She set the phone by the basement door, hit record. The crying started again. She sat in the kitchen, watching the time, 2:59 a.m., 3:00 a.m., right on schedule. The sobbing came louder than before, clearer. "Mommy, please, I'm burning. It's hot." She covered her mouth. It wasn't in her head. It was on the tape. The next morning, she listened. The crying was there, but so was something else. Something she hadn't heard the night before. A second voice, low, raspy, almost inhuman. Let her come down. She's almost ready. She dropped the phone. Her chest tightened. Her hands trembled. This was no dream, no grief hallucination. Something was in that basement. Sarah adopted a dog that week, a German Shepherd mix from the local shelter. She needed to feel safe, needed something alive in the house with her. She named him Bishop. On his first night, he stood by the basement door, growling low, hackles raised, teeth bared. Every night at 3 a.m., he would whimper, back into a corner, and refuse to come near the basement. Then one night, the crying didn't come. Sarah felt relieved until she realized Bishop was gone. She found him scratching at the basement door, frantically, blood on his paws. That weekend, Sarah drove 2 towns over to speak to the only previous tenant she could track down, a man named Darren Knoll. The records were hard to find, but she managed. He answered the door with a limp, a hollow stare, and a smell of liquor on his breath. "You lived there, didn't you?" she asked. His eyes went dead. "I don't talk about the basement. Something's down there." He shook his head. Not something. Someone. Sarah frowned. My daughter. She died in a car crash. I moved in to escape the pain. Pause. I started hearing her. From below. Just like you. Sarah swallowed. Did you go down? He looked at her for a long time, then said softly, It's not your son. It just wears him. When she got back home, there was a missed call. From her own number. One voicemail. She pressed play. Static. Then, Mommy? I'm here. I didn't mean to play with the matches. Please come get me. It's cold. Then silence. Then the rasp. She's almost ready. Sarah stared at her phone, the voicemail still playing. The rasping voice wasn't Eli's. It wasn't human. And yet, it used Eli's voice like a mask, like a recording stitched together from her own memories. She's almost ready. The line echoed in her mind as she tossed the phone onto the table and stumbled back, chest heaving, the silence in the house pressing in on her like hands at her throat. She had to get out. Sleep was impossible. Instead, she poured through county records, old news articles, and dusty library microfilm reels. The address of the house, 119 Crowhurst Lane, appeared in strange places. Local blogs about cursed properties, whispered rumors in decades-old forums, even a 1994 article titled, 3 Found Dead in Locked Basement. No explanation from police. A family of 3, all burned, all locked inside. The article claimed no accelerants were found, no signs of forced entry. The case was dropped within weeks. But there was one detail that chilled Sarah. The wife's name was Catherine Caldwell. Her own last name. No relation. No coincidence. Just a mirror. Desperate, Sarah called a local medium. Her name was Elena Graves, and she arrived with little fanfare. Just a bundle of sage, a deck of cards, and eyes that looked like they hadn't seen peace in years. As soon as she stepped into the house, she stopped. It's not your son, Elena said quietly. You haven't even. I don't need to. I've been near things like this before. Sarah's jaw clenched. Then what is it? Elena walked to the basement door and placed her hand against the metal bolts. There's a mimicry, a hunger, something that uses grief like a fishing line. Whatever's down there, it feeds on mourning. It waits for people like you, people with holes in their hearts. Sarah whispered, But I heard him. It was him. Elena nodded slowly. That's how it begins. That night, they prepared a session in the living room, candles, salt lines, a recording device. At exactly 3 a.m., the crying started again. But this time, Elena responded. You're not welcome here. The crying stopped. Then the voice returned, deeper, layered, like multiple voices speaking through one throat. You came to me. You opened the door. I only filled what she left empty. Sarah screamed, What are you? The candle flames flared. The air turned cold. The dog whimpered and hid behind the couch. A memory, a fire, a mother, a child. Promise broken. She came to find her son. She stayed. You will too. Elena collapsed. When Sarah rushed to help her, the medium gasped. It's not just haunting the house. It is the house. After Elena left, Sarah scoured the attic. She found something she hadn't touched since moving in. A dusty shoebox filled with photos. At the bottom, she found a Polaroid she didn't recognize. It showed her holding Eli, but not in their old house. They were standing in front of this house. 119 Crowhurst Lane. She dropped the photo. Her hands shook. Eli had never been there. She was sure of it. But there they were, smiling like they'd lived there forever. Later that evening, she heard something scratching from inside the walls. Not rats, not plumbing, whispers. She followed the sound to the back of the laundry room, where a small wooden panel had been sealed over with drywall and nails. She tore it open. A crawl space, dark, damp, and echoing with faint childlike sobs. She crawled inside, flashlight clutched tight, heart thundering. As she moved deeper, the sobs grew louder, but so did a strange creaking, like bones shifting or old wood breathing. At the far end, she found a bundle wrapped in cloth. She opened it. Inside, Eli's toy fire truck, melted and half-charred. The one that burned with him shouldn't be here. Stuffed beneath the toy was a yellowed envelope, scrawled in faded ink. For the next mother. She opened it. If you're reading this, you've heard them too. I lost my son. He cried from the walls for months. I tried to help him. I gave it my name, my love, my pain. I stayed. You must not. It remembers everything, and it never lets go. CC, Catherine Caldwell. That night, Sarah went to the bathroom. As she turned to leave, she froze. Her reflection didn't move. It stood there, staring, wide-eyed, tear-streaked. Then, without blinking, it opened its mouth and said in Eli's voice, "Mommy, the fire's coming. Come to the basement. It's safe now." The mirror shattered. Sarah stumbled backward, heart pounding, breath ragged. Her reflection had spoken in her son's voice, but it wasn't him. It wasn't right. The way its mouth moved just slightly out of sync. The way its eyes didn't blink. The way it smiled after it said, "Come to the basement." Her face bled from the shards, but she barely felt it. There was only one thought in her mind. "It's waiting for me." Sarah called Elena, the medium, again. Her voice shook as she described the mirror, the letter, the crawl space, the toy truck. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Elena said, "If you go down there, it won't let you come back." "I have to know," Sarah whispered. "I have to see." "No, you don't. That's how it gets you. It shows you what you need most, closure." Sarah hung up. The mirror hadn't lied. The fire was coming, and her son was in the basement. She packed light, flashlight, holy water, a recording device, the old photo of her and Eli in front of the house, and his favorite lullaby bear. The toy still smelled faintly of smoke. Bishop, her dog, whimpered as she approached the basement. He tried to block her, growled, barked. She gently pushed him aside and whispered, "Stay upstairs, no matter what you hear." Then she slid the bolts free and opened the door. The air that hit her smelled like charred wood and wet soil. She turned on her flashlight and stepped into the dark. The stairs groaned beneath her feet. The beam of her flashlight barely reached the bottom. The cries began again, faint, desperate. "Mommy, help me. I can't see." Her knees buckled, but she gritted her teeth and kept going. The walls were lined with soot. Black handprints, small ones, smeared the wood. As she reached the bottom step, her flashlight flickered, then went out. The basement floor was damp, soft, like ash had soaked into every crack. In the center stood Eli, barefoot, in his pajamas, eyes wide. "Mommy," he said, arms outstretched. She froze. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "It's not you," she whispered. "You're not real." He took a step forward. His eyes glistened. "Why did you leave me?" "I didn't," she sobbed. "I tried, Eli, I tried." He smiled, but his teeth were too sharp, and his voice shifted deeper, layered with others. "Then stay. The illusion flickered. Eli's body distorted, like heat rising from a flame. His skin darkened, cracked. His eyes turned coal black. Behind him, figures began to appear, burned, twisted silhouettes with wide, grinning mouths and voices like smoke. All of them came here for love, the thing rasped. None of them left. Sarah screamed. She threw the holy water. It sizzled on the floor, and the shadows shrieked. She ran back toward the stairs, but they were gone. In their place, a black wall, breathing, pulsing, alive. The thing whispered, "Stay and he's yours. Walk away and you'll never hear him again." Sarah trembled. "I want him back," she whispered. More than anything. The shadows opened, and behind them she saw a memory. Eli alive, laughing, running in a park. Forever. It hissed. She stepped forward, then paused. She looked down at the bear in her hand and remembered the fire, the matches, his scream, her mistake. She screamed, "You're not him." The memory vanished. The thing shrieked. The basement exploded in noise, wind, screams, fire, and then, like a crack in the wall, a way out. She ran. Sarah lives in a small apartment now, quiet, safe. She never went back to 119 Crowhurst. She never heard Eli's voice again, until one night, on the baby monitor she kept in a drawer, she heard, "Mommy." Some stories don't end. They just wait for someone else to hear them. If this one gave you chills, hit the like button and let someone else hear it too. Don't forget to subscribe for more true horror stories like this, because next time, the voice might call your name.